we're lucky today to do two things. We're going to sign an agreement, essentially. We're going to recognize our agreement with those who brought the suit to make our environment better, to be safe going forward, to have a leadership position where we work together, especially with our young leaders who are passionate about saving this planet.
Yeah, today is a monumental day. We're announcing the settlement agreement of the youth constitutional climate change case called Navahine versus Hawaii State Department of Transportation. After 2 years of litigation, the government has agreed to work with the youth in a first-of-its-kind settlement agreement that will require decarbonization of transportation no later than 2045.
We both are on the path of ensuring that we mitigate climate change going forward, minimize our footprint in these different areas, and maximize the potential for us to combat climate change. Now we're going to try and accelerate things to ensure that we're both on the same page on how we get this done.
We are here today with an actionable and enforceable agreement that puts Hawaii's transportation system on the fast track to advance key climate solutions, like electrifying and expanding our full network of clean transportation choices. And I have learned that courage is something that all of us can muster when we stand for what we love.
E aha he mai nei ka makani limuli pu'upu'u, palipali o kamehame, mehameha ka leo o ke kupe'e o ko ona pou, pou o hi'a o na hale mau na ihoa ai ia e lani po, aloha. So we're here today at beautiful Kaiona, really a gathering place for the Waimanalo community, the community that I come from. Waimanalo is located on the windward side of Oahu. It's a coastal community. Every time you come here, you can always depend on seeing a loved one or an ohana member that you know, and yeah, just a beautiful place, and a place that I was really raised. I'm also a part of the restoration project of the fish pond behind me, which is my namesake, Pāhonu. We're trying to restore not only the actual place, but the stories and the different resources that used to be in existence around that area. I've seen drastic changes when it comes to our environment and our climate here in Waimanalo, and this beach being one of them. The beach that is right behind me was once, had a longer sand, and there was much more of a beach then. It's scary, but I think things like the lawsuit really give support to me and my fellow plaintiffs in continuing really the work that we're doing in our communities to combat climate change.
Navahine versus Hawaii Department of Transportation is at its core about protecting young Hawaiians' rights to a safe and livable climate. The Department of Transportation in Hawaii is responsible for over half of the entire state's emissions, and bringing those emissions down are critical for Hawaii to achieve its statewide emissions goals. So when we saw that that was happening, that Hawaii had legislated really good goals, and that there was one agency that was clearly not making its targets, we brought this litigation on behalf of young people.
We started sharing about our own experience in our communities and what we're actively doing, and then the opportunity came up to actually be a part of it. I agreed to it because it did align to my beliefs, and I felt it was needed. When we speak about land, we also speak about ocean. And when we speak about the ocean, we also are speaking about the land. They really do require equal amount of attention and protection when it comes to really addressing and balancing our natural environment, and finding out where our responsibility to the land and the ocean is. Important philosophy in the Hawaiian culture is aloha aina and aloha kai, and that is to take care of and love the land and love the ocean. I realize now that we've settled that this case is monumental across the world. There are people internationally having conversations about what this case in Hawaii by 13 different youth plaintiffs is doing to the world.
My farm and all the crop that we get is what we live off of. So seeing the effects and how we were struggling to make any money from our farm kind of pushed me towards this case.
It's not a ball fiddle.
We are in Hakipu'u on Oahu. I was born and raised on this farm that was granted to one of my ancestors as kuleana lands during the Great Mahele.
This is where I was born and raised. This is a multi-generational farm. This has been our family's farm since time immemorial. We got it through the Kuleana Act, and we've been farming it ever since.
It's kind of just a way for my family to support ourselves, or just like something to use to give back to the community.
Get the frog.
I think the land is something really important to us, and it's kind of what we see as our way of life. This is part of our stream system, so it's where we get all of our water from. We're having trouble with water right now, so it's really dry. It's supposed to be just constant fresh running water. It's not running as much as it should be, so it stops right at the beginning over here.
Young people born today are disproportionately impacted by climate change because not only will they have to live with it for much longer than me or any of us in the room, but they will also have much harder consequences on their developing brains and bodies.
So this is one of our patches that is closest to the ocean. Right now it's also affected because of our watering issue. Because it's so close to the ocean and sea level rise, it's having issues with the salinity levels.
So extreme heat, air pollution, climate pollution more generally, that has physical and mental health impacts on children in a way that it doesn't on adults.
Farming kalo, there's drought, there's flooding, there's sea level rise that affects the salinity in our kalo patches. One season it was really hard where we had to adapt to it and even change our farming style. Like we went to a dryland style, and that's kind of where I realized that it's getting more difficult and it's affecting us in so many ways, and it's just something that needs to be kind of recognized. Being 14 and going up against the DOT, it was really scary. So my mindset now is that no challenge is too big, because the outcome of this case was really positive for me. Like before, I would never do this. I was shy and I would never go up against like the Department of Transportation.
Definitely Nava takes the credit for deciding to do this, because at the end of the day it was her choice. I guess being raised here on the farm and actually physically seeing the examples of the climate change, like the effects, I think her life and the parents and grandparents she has is what probably motivated her, instilled in her that she couldn't not do this.
So instead of it being adults speaking for them, they're taking their story and telling the parts of their story that matter to them and telling it to people in power. And our youth plaintiffs tell us that's incredibly empowering. And they feel like maybe for the first time, an adult with power has listened to them.
After putting myself in that position, it kind of changed my mindset that you should just fight for what you believe in, no matter what it is.
Today, we were going to be in trial. Today would be our first day in the courtroom, so we would be arguing back and forth about witnesses and exhibits, but instead we are all gathering here today to celebrate a monumental achievement, the world's first settlement agreement in a constitutional climate change case that recognizes and protects the fundamental rights of young people to a safe climate.
So this case has had an outcome that I couldn't believe would be possible. If you told me a year ago that I would be sitting with you here today talking about reaching a settlement agreement with the state of Hawaii, I would have said, no way.
This climate thing, it is the fight of our lives. But because of this settlement, and it's unprecedented, it's a fight with and not a fight against. I noticed this sign, I don't know if you saw it, right? It used to be Navahine v versus Hawaii. Now it's Navahine plus Hawaii.
Our Children's Trust doesn't get any money from this settlement agreement. It's all about change that has to happen on the ground in Hawaii in the Department of Transportation. And it's also about involving these young plaintiffs in every step of that process in meaningful ways for the next 21 years while their climate goals are met.
I would like to say that it's over, but it's not. There's this one number really stuck in our head, that 20 years. So it's gonna take 20 years of even getting to know my fellow plaintiffs even more, and the team at Earth Justice and Our Children's Trust, 20 years to get really where we need to be and where we envision ourselves to be. It's actually just the beginning.
Though this journey has been long and hard, we have accomplished so much, and I'm so beyond proud.
I think it's really important for youth to speak out on their experiences and to advocate for themselves, because we're the next generation, we're the ones who are being affected, we're the ones who are going to have to deal with the consequences. So it's something that should be taken seriously.
Nothing like this has ever been done anywhere in the world. This is the first time that all three branches of government, the judiciary, the legislative branch, and the executive branch have agreed to come together to work on this problem. I think there are so many ways that we can participate in making this world a more just and fairer place to live. And that what I would say to young people is, sometimes I know it can feel hard, but you are so powerful, and your voice is your power.